Mandalorian season 2 has ended yesterday on Disney Plus, and I'm still shaking from excitement, if I'm honest. I thought it would be difficult to keep up the level of the previous season, which to me was an impeccable 10 out of 10. But in some ways, that high bar was now exceeded. And I'll say right off the bat, to be fair, I did think there were maybe 2 out of 8 episodes that I felt were slightly weaker overall. Still good, but just weaker. But as counterbalance, episodes 5 and 8 of this season were some of the best television and some of the best Star Wars ever. So the story picks up where we left off last time, with the Mandalorian trying to find other Mandalorians in order to ask them for help in turn finding Jedi, so that he can safely deliver the child to safety, to whoever those Jedi might be. Of course, his road is never straightforward, and he still has to perform different odd jobs for people in exchange for information or help. Meanwhile, the threat of Moff Gideon is still looming in the distance, and inevitably he will come looking for the child as well. That's as much as I'm saying. I don't want to spoil anything for people that haven't seen it yet. A lot of the stuff that is amazing about the new season is basically just repetition of what worked the previous time, the repetition of the successes of season 1. Smaller scale stories in comparison with the films, atmosphere of space western, drawing upon not just the old Star Wars for inspiration, but also the original influences that impacted Star Wars in the first place, westerns and Japanese samurai cinema. The special effects still look totally incredible thanks to the revolutionary stagecraft technology. The acting is great, the fight choreography is great, so is the writing and the direction. Ludwig Göransson once again creates the score, which is superb, both in terms of the new music. I mean, the main theme of Mandalorian is still probably my favorite piece of movie music in the last 5 years or so. And also when it comes to weaving in old motifs that we know and love from John Williams. Let me make it extra clear, just to underline this point for everyone. The music is unbelievably good. Then we have a bunch of new stuff in this season as well. Again, without spoiling too much. A number of characters from older Star Wars media make a return. Some of them for the first time in live action after only having been seen in animated shows thus far. The additions are great because they're not just inserted to be in Mandalorian's story, not just to be fan service. Each of those characters has their own stuff going on, a plot thread of their own, their goals, their ambitions, and something that they're chasing. And they only basically help Mando briefly. That is a brilliant way to enhance the feeling of the story taking place in this large universe where other people exist as well. But it's obviously also a clever way to set up those plot lines that will be continued in all the other spin-off shows that have just recently been confirmed at the Disney Investor Conference. There's like, I think, 8 of them coming. And I think this is an important point to recognize, that this wonderful balance was struck between introducing new characters and their stories without taking the spotlight away from the Mandalorian. He's still very much the driving force behind the main story, and nothing changes that. The 2 episodes that I mentioned hold a very special place in my heart. Episode 5, apart from the storyline, which I can't spoil, plays a genius homage to both westerns and Japanese samurai movies. In fact, it does it in one scene, which is like split between 2 battlefields separated by a wall. One is western, one is samurai. I'm just wonderful. And then we have the season finale, which, put it like this, the climax of it had me jumping up from my couch in excitement, feeling like a 7-year-old kid again. It tapped into that Star Wars excitement that I haven't felt in a long time. Not just in Star Wars, in general. I mean, the climax of the finale in many ways was comparable to the portal scene from Avengers Endgame, when all these characters show up and Captain America says Avengers Assemble. I think it's fair to say that I had a very similar reaction, which is amazing to me when I think of how I felt about Star Wars in general just a year ago. After the latest botched trilogy of movies, I was exhausted and disappointed with this universe, and felt like there's probably no way to recapture that joy that I once felt. And then along comes The Mandalorian and does exactly that in the first season, and then doubles on it in season 2. And again, an important point is that it was easy for this exciting climax to take away from the Mandalorian himself. But right after all the action happens, we also have an emotional climax between the Mandalorian and the child. We're reminded that, hey, this is their story. These are the heroes. This is the spotlight. I I'll admit I shed a tear at the emotional ending of the episode, and I've rewatched that whole part like two more times already because it's beautiful stuff. Um, Also, let me say the music in this final episode, especially. I mean, Goranson just goes off, no breaks. It's genius what he brings to the show with his score. So yeah, the whole season is available in full now on Disney Plus after a release cycle once again of one episode a week, which honestly I prefer. Be sure to check it out if you haven't yet. I'll put it like this: The Mandalorian continues to be a great show, even if you don't much care about the Star Wars universe. But if you do, if this stuff excites you in any way whatsoever, if you have any nostalgia for the older stuff, it's simply perfect. Once again, from me, this is a shameless 10 out of 10. This is the way.